Hi, this is Dr. Marlene Mayhew. I'm the Executive Director of the Telehealth Institute, and I'm here today to speak with you about online counseling and psychotherapy. I'd like you to imagine that you are in the year 1880. You're sitting in your home, and you're looking out your front window, and what you see is a dirt road. That dirt road connects you to your neighbor's house, and then a little further on, another neighbor's house, and a little further on, into town. And what happens on that road is that people travel by horse. If they're lucky, they may have a buggy. If they're even luckier, they may have two horses. And so that's how they travel, that's how they carry their goods, and that's how things have been going on for centuries. Now, along about that year, 1880, a fellow by the name of Henry Ford came on the scene, and he started developing what he called the horseless buggy. Now, that buggy was the first prototype for the automobile. It took about 30 years for the automobile to be mass-produced, but in the 1912 or so, the mass production of these automobiles started, and roads started changing. People decided that the muddy roads of the past just simply couldn't support the thin tires of the horseless buggy, and they wanted to travel more quickly, wanted to carry bigger loads, and so they started developing harder surfaces. They eventually got to producing asphalt and cement, and if we catapult ourselves forward in time to the early 30s and 40s, 50s, there are freeway networks that started emerging. States started connecting one city to another, then they started connecting states to other states, and then we started getting not only interstate freeways, but cross-country freeways. And now today, we have freeways with very complex on-ramps and off-ramps. And if you live in a big city like I do, on San Diego, we have freeways that are 5 to 7 lanes. And that's just, for most of us, part of our everyday life, is traveling in these large freeways. We have 2-ton vehicles, and we travel within feet of each other and don't even think about it. But if you put yourself back just a little more than 100 years ago, if people would imagine traveling at 55, 65, 70 miles an hour in 2-ton vehicles within feet of each other, it would have been a horrifying experience. Not only that, if there happened to be a horse on the road, at that point in time, the horse would panic and could very well throw off its rider. It's hard to conceptualize the impact of transportation on our planet. But just to give you one perspective, I heard on NPR recently that global warming, people are concerned about the amount of blacktop that is starting to envelop our planet. And their suggestion is that we move to concrete and less dark-colored surfaces, because the amount of dark-colored surfaces may very well be contributing to global warming. Whether or not that's true, they do impact us one way or another. As we think about how we might move forward with our professions, various aspects of the work that we do, I think it's important that we think about the fact that whatever decisions we make now need to be not just short run, not just 5 years or 10 years, but rather that we think about it very carefully, because it could very well impact our profession for 100 years or 200 years. So things change very, very quickly in the transportation world. And that is much what's happening today with the internet. Things are changing very, very quickly. People do not have the time to adapt to it before the next thing comes along. And what we're left with is a legal, regulatory, ethical, and practice world in mental health that is just not keeping up with the capabilities that the average consumer in the United States has to talk with us, to send us messages, to communicate with each other. And many of us mental health practitioners are thinking, where is this going? And how can we adapt in a way that will make it beneficial for us as professionals as well as for the people we treat? The best analogy I can give to the internet today compared to the image I just created for you is that it's as if all of a sudden we woke up and everybody had a shiny new vehicle in their driveway. Here we are in the 1880s. People are moving along with their horses and doing things as they've done for centuries. And then all of a sudden they have a brand new vehicle in their driveway and they're very excited about it. So they get in it, they start driving around, they start going over fields and into ravines and into different places. They get stuck. They might hurt themselves. They might hurt somebody else. They bump into things. And then all of a sudden, regulators start deciding, gee, you know, we need to do something here. We need to have rules of the road. We need to have symbols and signs and things that tell people how to operate. We need to come up with licensure. We need to come up with how people can protect themselves, safety mechanisms. We need to come up with a wide variety of things that we as a profession and as the mental health professions, as well as the telemedicine and telehealth professions, have not been able to keep up with how quickly technology is evolving. So suddenly we have people that are very well versed in controlling horses with whips and stirrups and saddles and bridles, and they're dealing with people, and they themselves are jumping into cars and they're driving around and they realize, gee, you know, we can't control these cars with those same saddles and stirrups and bridles. We need to use a gas pedal and a brake and steering wheel, and we better get wider tires, and we need to figure out these rules of the road and learn them and study for them for a licensure. And it's a very different world. People in mental health, if I'm to continue with this analogy, are trying to control and understand how to operate online by using the techniques of the past. They're trying to use, if you will, bridles and stirrups and saddles and whips to navigate with a car. And it just doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is give you a very quick overview of what is a very large body of literature that's evolved over the last 40, 45 years in the telemental health literature related to psychiatry, and which a few psychologists and counselors, social workers have been a part of, but for the most part it's been developed by psychiatry. What we're going to look at is a very short glimpse of what is much more complicated than most people imagine, and when we get into it, it's really quite fascinating. But each aspect of it is a world unto itself, and it does require a certain amount of patience and understanding, just as if you were to start driving a car, you would probably spend several hours trying to get used to how to navigate that car, as opposed to kicking it like you would a horse. If you wanted to go, you'd have to learn the finesse of how to deal with the gas pedal, and when to hit the brake, and when to stop, and when to put your signals on, and, you know, all the little things that we generally take driver's ed courses when we're in high school to learn how to do. This is very similar to what we as practitioners need to do. For the creative practitioner who sees this as I do, that is a paradigm shift, a new way of thinking and practicing and interacting, communicating with telecommunication technology. And we have right now in our hands, in our generation, an opportunity that is unprecedented. The information age and telecommunications is bigger than the printing press, bigger than anything the world has ever seen, because we literally can talk and communicate and see people who are on the other side of the planet. I do this every day with the staff that I have in the Philippines to do a lot of my web work. I see them within 5 seconds of turning on a video screen, and they literally are on the other side of the planet from me. That is unprecedented. So there are many opportunities for us all.